Hello, lovers of poetry. I hope that you still love poetry after today's installment of Poems That Changed Me. I'm going to talk about a very unusual poem. I'm not going to read the poem because it's way too long and way too complex. But I do want to talk about this poem because it changed a lot for me. And I would say it continues to change a number of things for me, though it's not a poem that I love to read. I'm talking about An Octopus by Marianne Moore, the notorious, I think it's 193 lines long, that is sort of an anti-poem poem. So the poem is an imagination slash observation slash re-evaluation slash consideration slash scientific examination of Mount Rainier. Marianne Moore, the poet, imagines the glaciers going down the sides of Mount Rainier as the tentacles of an octopus. And the first sentence is kind of famous, an octopus of ice. That's the end of the sentence, a kind of statement that is definitive and declarative, but not very helpful. It doesn't tell you what in the world she's talking about, or where this octopus is, or what an octopus of ice might be. And she proceeds to write. To me, this is a very textual poem. This is one of the things that this poem changed for me, was its adherence to textuality, its allegiance to textuality. So on one hand, the poem is a kind of collage. The words throughout the poem are not entirely Moore's. She quotes from a number of different sources, travel documents, pamphlets, scientific articles, and she weaves these things into the poem so that the poem itself becomes a kind of collage of voices. It's a polyvocal text that is not Moore talking about or reflecting upon or valorizing the environment or the landscape, or in this case, the sublime, a mountain, but rather a leveling of voices with her voice and all these other sources, as if to say that the poet's voice and the poet's perception is no more weighted or no more special or no more enlightened than all of these other sources. And I found that, as a young reader, very important. Two, I think of this poem as a collaboration, and the notion of collaboration has influenced a great deal of my work. I would say at least half of the books I've written or edited or co-edited have been collaborative projects. And here I think of Moore collaborating with this cacophony of voices, collaborating with scientists, collaborating with naturalists, collaborating with historians, collaborating with historical interpreters, to sort of make sense of this natural phenomenon. In so doing, and this is one of the perhaps the third thing that really changed a lot for me, is it's a kind of undermining of the notion of the individual poetic genius, especially about the sublime or about the environment. She seems to be going against a poem like Shelley's Mont Blanc, which is also about a mountain, a poet traveling through, and this kind of celebration of the sublime marriage of poetic genius and environmental grandeur. This poem rather methodically deconstructs that notion of the individual genius that has been visited with this great gift of poetic observation, making it, this is the fourth thing, a kind of anti-pastoral. The pastoral tradition involves a poet going out into nature, Keats, Wordsworth, James Wright, looking at nature, and somehow the natural world somehow heals him or soothes him, often a man, by the way. Here, you've got Moore, a woman, looking at this mountain, and she seems to be indicating that her own perspective and her own voice really isn't quite enough. Unlike her male counterparts are like, I'm a dude, I can tell you everything you need to know about this experience. Moore is more thoughtful. She's more inclusive. She's more collaborative. And so her poem becomes a kind of conversation, not only between the poet and the environment, but between the poet and other people who are also writing about the mountain. So it's a textual conversation in which the poet is turning to the page and turning to language and turning to other sources to help complete the incompleteness of her own poetic articulation of what she's thinking and feeling and imagining. This poem took her a couple of years to assemble, and I like the verb assemble as opposed to write, because as I say early on, it is this kind of collage that seems to be pulling from a number of different sources. The fifth thing that really was magical for me is she also seems to be calling on a number of different writers. I hear echoes of Dickinson in here. I hear echoes of someone like John Muir. I hear echoes of the Romantic poets. I really hear the echo of someone like Whitman in these sort of long catalogs, these lists of adjectives and descriptions of the poem. I see a little bit of Wallace Stevens in there, especially from a poem like 13 Ways of Looking at a Blackbird. This notion of perception and needing various ways to make sense of the ineffable, the thing that cannot be fully articulated or commented on. So I don't know how many of you are going to have the stamina to read through all 193 lines of this poem, but I would encourage you to read through this, and if you can track down Moore's notes to this poem, that would be even more awesome. This poem changed so much about what a poem can do. The sixth thing perhaps being how a poem can be moving while going to great lengths not to be emotionally manipulative, but rather to be about a quest for truth, to be about knowledge, to be able to get at that thing that makes Rainier Rainier. This poem changed so much for me, even though it's a really difficult poem to get all the way through. And I hope you'll give it a chance to change you as well.